Hello there, this is the podcast Back on the Ball with Dean Edwards and Colin Lee, and we've just broken away from the recording just for personal memories, personal opinions on Torquay United. Both have incredible links with the club. Who's going to start? The situation, it's sad, and there, but for the grace of God, goes so many clubs these days.
Yeah, it's such a sad situation. I think it caught everyone by surprise, to be honest, Dave. You know, sat at home and the announcement was made. I received a text saying that, have you seen this? And I just couldn't believe it. I thought the timing wasn't quite right. I think if they could have left it to the end of the season, would have made life probably a little bit easier. But when you analyse what's gone on, this is just not what's happened over the last 5 years. There were decisions made long before that, which has brought the club down, if you like, and set it backwards. And I think that, apart from the owner who has just made this decision over the last week or so, you have to look back a lot longer than that, because I think it's been created over a space of time. You could argue the toss, should Gary Johnson have left earlier. I think, when you look at most clubs in that situation, probably they would have got rid of their manager and changed it around, but it's not that easy. I don't know the decisions. You hear rumours going around that Gary had a long contract. It's more difficult to get rid of a manager when he has a long contract. That decision was made, obviously, I assume, a year or so ago by the people that were running the club. So, I think if you put it all together, it's something that's been created over a period of time. And unfortunately, for the football club, it's now suffering massively. Unless they find a buyer within about 10 days, then it will go into liquidation. And people need to understand what that means. It means that any money that's generated will be used to firstly pay the players' wages, and then negotiations will go on between the accountants who will be brought in by the liquidators, who will negotiate with any outstanding debts. And in most situations, you can come up with an agreement, but that generally is something around, I think, 35p in the pound.
Okay.
So if you're looking at the owner, who I think is got an outstanding debt in the club of in excess of 4.3 million, there's still a huge amount of money outstanding.
Dino, you've been there, you've done it yourself, you've been in charge. How difficult is it?
Well, I would imagine that the situation they're in at the moment is probably not as a bad situation as when I led the consortium. The problem is, Torquay's history. You had Mike Bateson, you had Thea Bristow, you had Osborne's, and they've all lost a lot of money, which proves that, it's not a club that can be getting too ambitious. I think the average crowd is 2,000. It's always been, ever since I played there in the late 80s, early 90s. And to have the ambition or the expectation, I should say, to try and take the club where it wants to go rather than where it needs to be is the crux of the matter. Add to that the untold amount of probably abuse they've taken over the last 12 months is another thing, another factor that they've probably gone, what, is this worth it for me? So now they're in a situation where they've got to swim for themselves now, and I think, it might be time for the fans to have a go and take it over, because some of them seem to know all the answers. So let's see if they can do it now. I mean, they'll get backing from, I'd certainly donate. I'm sure, when I'm saying that, raising money, finding ways to raise money for them. But I just think it's a thankless task to run a football club. You don't get any favours, even if you've got a passion for the club and you love the club, you're never going to be, as soon as you put your head above the parapet, you're going to get your head shot off. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So now they've got to think to themselves, right, who's coming in? Well, if a businessman comes into that football club, he's coming in for one reason and one reason only, and that's to buy the land or to get something with the council.
To make money out of it.
He's a businessman.
Yeah.
That's what they call businessmen for. If you get a person or a consortium that love the club, great. Like when I came in, the people that I bought in, they loved the club but didn't have a clue. So, that's a problem that they've got also. They've got to find a way now to try and stabilise it. It's back on life support again. And you know what? It's not just Torquay. There's lots of clubs around the country. It's a world recession. You've got Exeter City have been through the situation, Plymouth have been through the situation, and there's probably half a dozen other clubs now in the country that are in this situation. But the other thing that they've got going against them, Torquay, is the geographical situation of the place. It's a bit like Darlington. It's out the way. It's trying to attract players. It's trying to attract business interest. It's a difficult one. I mean, I really don't know where this is going to end up. Hopefully, and keeping our fingers crossed, they're going to survive and, at least try and get back into the National League at the very minimum. But unfortunately, I think this has happened too many times now, and I've got a bad feeling for it.
Well, we hope everything is going to go well. From Dean, from Colin and from me, we wish Torquay United all the best for the future, and there will be a future.